There's no equal to here, so you want to open circle, and it's x8 is less than, so I want to extend this up going all the way to the left. And if it was greater than, I'd go to the right. Okay, so that's what we were doing on Tuesday, or for Wednesday's folder, the one due yesterday. And then the next day, it was two variables. And when you deal with two variables, basically you're doing with x and y. If you think x and y, we're talking about a coordinate plane or a graph. And not only are we having to graph a line, but now we're having to add in this shading component. Okay, so now x is greater than 5. Well, if it's only x itself, I have this little graphic here. If it's just x, it's going to be a vertical line like this. If it's, less, and then the less than greater than determines where the shade will go. Okay, so here, this is a vertical line at x equals 5. And remember on IXL, you just need 2 points to make a line. So I can do a point anywhere up and down this line. And then I got to look right here and say, okay, is it going to be dashed or solid? Well, if it's just less than or greater than, it's dashed. If it's equal to, it's solid. And this is equal to. So I'll just leave it like that. Then the last part is, where do I shade? Okay, well, x is greater than 5. Well, greater than, like this, you shade to the right, because all the numbers to the right of that number, let's see, in this case, number 5 are greater than 5. 6 is greater than 5, 8 is greater than 5, 10 is greater than 5. So that's why we shade to the right. Okay, so now this is the case where you have just a number here. Now, if I had like x right here, oops, if I had x right there, 2x, that's two variables, right? So now I have a starting point of 0. I'd start at 0, and then I go up to right 1. But because there is none, and it's just the number itself, this is a horizontal line. Okay, so I actually start right at 2, and now I make a flat horizontal line. And again, I just need any point along this line, doesn't matter where you put it. And then remember that there's no equal sign, so no equal sign means dashed. So then I just click on the line to make it dashed. And then it says y is less than. Less than, like you can see in this graphic, means we shade below. Okay, and it's pretty easy when it's a horizontal line. I mean, seeing above and below is pretty simple. So shade right there. Okay, and then we have now we have a y and x on both sides. Okay, so now we do have a starting point and a slope. And in this case, the starting point is 0, plus 0 right there. So I would start at 0. And then now my slope is up 4, right 1. And it's a solid line because it's equal. And now remember, like we talked about before, it's leaning to the right. I'm sorry. It's leaning this way, which means that the shade underneath would be in this region over here to the right. Okay. So now I just take my little shade button, click on that, and then that's it. Okay. All right, so here's another one. It's kind of similar. So I start at 0. Now I'm going to go down to right 1. Oops, and start right there. That's going to be dashed because there's no equal to sign. And it says y is greater than, and since it's leaning to the left now, above will be to the right. Okay, so then it's the same thing for the rest of those, right? But the next step is now taking not just one inequality, but now taking two inequalities, and that's the folder that we're going to talk about. When you have two equations or two inequalities, you're going to have a system. Okay, so we have a system. So again, if you have two equations and two inequalities, that's a system, right? So what I'm actually going to start with, though, is just show you guys how to do this Deltamath assignment, because I can imagine some of you guys kind of figured this out, but maybe some of you were a little bit challenged on this one. This is kind of, it's more review of the first ones. So let's go there. Okay, now in this Deltamath assignment, you're going to get a combination of problems where it gives you a graph, and then you have to come up with the statement or notation. And then it's going to give you the statement, and then you have to graph it. Okay. So first thing is I have two different graphs on here. So I've got one that's starting right here at 0, and then one that's starting here at 10. So I'm going to use both of those numbers in the statement. Okay. So that would mean that here on the, oops, sorry, let me turn this thing off. It's jumping around everywhere. On the left, I'm going to put the smaller number. And then on the right, I would put the larger number. So I'm going to start with this one. Now, if you guys notice, I've got this going in different directions. Okay. It's going in different directions. Sorry. One's going to the left, one's going to the right. All right. So if they are going different directions, you have two separate statements. You're going to write two separate ones together. All right. And the way we'll do that with this one, sorry, this little writing tool is weird, is first we'll start with the one on the left. The one on the left is X. It's pointing to the left, so it's less than, and it's a closed dot, so less than or equal to 0. All right, so that's the first one. Now, we're gonna do another one, and normally if you were to like just write this on paper, honestly, I would say you just, let me show you how I'd write this on the paper. I would go and X is greater than 10. Okay. So I would write that as just X is less than 0 and X is greater than 10. I would just put an and in the middle. Okay. But there's a math symbol that's used for the word and that's this word, or that's this letter right here, the U. The U means union. You know, like when you unite people or unite things together, okay? Union means the same thing, okay? So this basically just means and. So X is less than 0 and X is greater than or equal to 10, okay? All right, so you just put that U right there in the middle to complete that one. All right, so now here's one where it actually gives you the statement. Now, if you notice it says or in the middle, it doesn't say and, it says or, okay? So let's see. So now we're gonna we're gonna do X is less than -5. So that means I have to go here to -5. And basically what I do is I click and drag. So for you guys that kind of had trouble with this, I click and I drag to the left. And then I can just click the circle to make it open, and then do the same thing with the other one. So this one is X is greater than. So I click, drag, and this is also open as well, okay? So that's how you work on that. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, now again, they give you one. Now you're given a graph where it's actually in the middle, right? So if you were to shade this or write this down, the shading is in the middle. It's not going two separate ways. So now you're going to have one statement that's all comes together. Now what I do is I start with the lower number, -6. And because the shaded area is bigger than 6, we would say that the X is greater than -6 by putting that right there on the right. Okay, so I've got X is greater because the little shaded area is bigger than 6. And then the other number on the right is 0, and the shaded area is less than 0. Okay, so I want you to think about that. I said that the shaded area is both bigger than 6, but for 0, the shaded area is less than 0. So now when I draw the symbol, I want to put less than. Now, if you notice something, there's one mistake I made. And that's because that's a closed circle, right? So I actually need to do less than or equal. Now you could have a closed open circle here and a closed circle. You could have two different circles and you'd have two different symbols. But in this case, they're both closed. So I'm going to put both a equal to signs there and there. Okay.
Coach Osborne, instead of the
You are right. That is -5. Oops. Okay. All right. So let's go on another one. All right. So this one, just one by itself. So x is greater than -3. So go to -3 and make it greater to the right. And it's going to be an open circle because it doesn't have the equal sign. It's just greater than. Can't be equal to -3. Okay. So you can see all of these are like that. Okay. Now this one, you start with, since they're separate, it says or. They're two separate ones when it's or. And usually when it says or, that means they're going to go both directions or separate directions. And one's going to go left and one's going to go right. If it had the union symbol or said and, that's when it's going to be in the middle. Okay, so here I'll start at 6, drag to the left, and that's open. And then start at 11, drag to the right, and that's also open. Okay, so now I have one where x is in the middle now, right? So now x is, so it says I'm going from basically 0 to 8. So when you have x in the middle of two numbers, this one's pretty easy. I just go drag from 0 to 8. Okay, then I got to make sure I have the right circles. Okay, so these are both inequalities are, just less than and greater than. So here I put open circles. Okay. All right, so we'll do one more like this. So here, again, I start with the smaller number. So I go -8. And the shaded area is bigger than -8. And you notice it's an open circle, right? So I put that symbol, not the equal to. And the shaded area is bigger, so x is greater than -8. And I know that's flipped around. So like for you guys, like this, matter of fact, I wonder if it would let you do it a different way. But anyways, that means the same thing. So if I write it that way, x is greater than -8, that's the same thing as writing it this way. All I did was flip it around. X is still greater than -8. Okay. And now the next number is 3, and all that shaded area is less than 3. So I put less than 3. So that pretty much is what those numbers are all about. And then this one is just one inequality. It should be by itself. Okay, so now let's go jump over to the next one, system of inequalities. Okay, so we do IXL. Now we have a system, meaning that we are going to graph more than one. So now you have 2 lines to graph on a coordinate plane this time. Okay, so now I'll start with the first one. If you guys remember when I showed you this the first time, if you do not have an X, that's a straight across line or a horizontal line. Okay, so here we're going to go down to -6, pick any point on that line. Now, if you notice, it's just greater than, not equal to. So remember, if it's just greater than, we're going to do a dashed line. And so is the second one. So we'll make sure that both of these are dashed. This one's at +5. So I go up to +5 and basically do the same thing. Remember, when you graph 2 graphs in IXL, you have to push the button to do the next one. So I can push the button. Okay, and then I'm going to graph the 5, and that one will also be dashed. So they're both dashed now. Then in order to graph the second part, the shade, I got to push another button. So basically, you got to push a button for each step. Okay. Now to start with the first one, it says y is greater than -6. So I want you to think y greater than -6 is greater than this yellow line here. So that would be here and here. Both of those areas are above -6. Okay, but I had to look at the second inequality, which says it's less than 5. So that means it cannot be above this line. It has to be below this line. So it's right in the middle of the two. So the solution to this problem is that any of the points that are in between those two lines. So if you guys remember when I talked about yesterday, basically any point in here, like here, 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 any of these points anywhere are solutions to this problem. And of course, this graph kind of keeps going this way. It keeps going this way. So it's almost an infinite amount of points, but it just has to be kind of there in the middle of the two lines. An example that's not a solution will be here. That's not. Neither is that. Same thing down here, because it's not in the shaded area. And also, anywhere on this line is also not a solution to this problem. Because remember, when it's dotted or dashed, that means it can't be equal to the line. Now, if it was equal to, and it was a solid line, then a point on the line would be a solution, okay? All right, so let's submit that, go to the next one. Okay, so this one's pretty similar. So we're gonna go y is greater than -3. So remember, that's straight across this way. And then we're gonna go in solid line because it's equal to. They're both equal to, so they're both solid lines. Now we do the x. Now remember, x means that we're gonna get a vertical line like this. Okay, it's a vertical line. And we start on the x-axis at that number. So here at +3, again, just any other point, and it's a solid line. Now we need to do the shade. All right, so the shading for the y line or the horizontal is easy because it's either above or below, right? It says y is greater than, so we're gonna go above the line. So that could be here or here. The question is it on the left side of the x or of the vertical line or on the right side? Well, it says x is less. Since x is less, think about it. What numbers are less than 3? So if 3 is right there, what's less? Anything to the left. So -6 is less. -2 is less. 2 is less. But 6 is not. Okay, so any numbers on this side would not be less, so you shade to the left of the line. Okay, and I have this little kind of cheat key up here. It says x is less, I go to the left. X is greater, I go to the right. And if you guys think about it, excuse me, when you guys did the number line, when you just had one number on one line, you kind of had that shortcut, right? That if it was pointing this way, you would point your arrow to the right. If it was pointing this way, you would point to the left. Well, that idea also works for when you have a vertical line, okay, with just x. Okay, so I know I go to the left because this is pointing to the left. Okay, but again, that only works for the lines that are vertical, not the other lines. Those ones are just really above or below. So again, you're basically taking two different equations or two different qualities, and you are graphing them. So here we have a horizontal line. Oops, not there. That one's at 6, +6, and it's solid. And then the second one, I'm going to start with that. This has a slope and a y-intercept. So I started the y-intercept of 1. And now it says -9 is the slope. So now I would go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then right 1. Okay, graph it. Now I got to make sure that my lines are both dashed or solid. Now remember, if it doesn't have the equal to sign, I got to make sure it's dashed. If it does have the equal sign, make sure it's solid. The first one should be solid. The second one is dashed, so I'll go ahead and make sure I click that to make it dashed. Okay, and again, like I told you guys yesterday, that's the common mistake I see. And you guys might get frustrated, like, why did I get it wrong? It looks like it's totally right, and then maybe you forgot to do the dash, or maybe you just counted your slope wrong. Okay, especially when you have like a slope like 9. I mean, that's a lot of counting, right? You might go down to, let's say, here on accident. All right, that's only down 8, not 9. Right, so just make sure you're counting those out. Okay, so now the shade. All right, one thing at a time. The first one, y is less than the horizontal line. So that means here or here. Okay, now for y is less than, well, this line is leaning to the left. It's leaning to the left. So that means that underneath the line, is over here to the left side, meaning that this is not where we shade on this side only, okay? So just a real quick to kind of show you on the board about that same example. And let me switch my microphone to make sure you guys can hear me over there. Okay, so that example that I just showed you guys kind of looks like this, right? I got that dashed line like this, and then the other one goes straight across, right? So let's just say, I'm gonna use two different colors to kind of show you the same idea, because that might help some of you guys understand like where to shade. So let's say that for this line, right, which is, you know, was y is less than or equal to 6, and then the other one was, I'm gonna use two different colors, right? And then for this one, this was that one that's y is less than negative 9x plus 1, all right? And I know that's not right. I know these are graphed totally wrong. I'm just showing you how to shade it, okay? Now, for this line, I said you shade everything here, everything below, right? And then for the next line, this one, it says y is less, and the line itself is leaning this way. It's leaning this way, and the underneath or less than would be down here, right? Which, if you look at it, that's to the left side. So that means that less than is both this area and this area. So now, when you have two lines, two lines make up 4 different areas. So think about like a pizza, right? Let's say I had a pizza and I made 2 cuts, right? Well, now I have 4 slices. So the question is, which slice do I shade, right? So on this line, on this graph, do I shade slice 1, slice 2, slice 3, or slice 4? Okay. Well, wherever both lines are shaded, that's the slice I'm going to shade. Okay, so look right here, number 2. Both of them aren't shaded there. Okay, so not that one. Number 3. Well, only this one is shaded there. There's no purple shade, right? Not that one. Up here in this corner, the only one that's shaded is this line. So not there. So that means that this slice of your graph, that's where we would want to make it darker. So normally if you guys were in school, I'd have you do this on paper, and I'd have you do like 2 different colors for each line, right? And then you would figure out where the 2 colors kind of overlap, where they are on top of each other. Okay, so that's how you graph those 2. Okay. All right, switch back over. Switch my microphone. All right, so you guys should be able to hear me now. If you guys can't hear me, just let me know. If you can, then great. All right, so let's jump ahead and see what other problems we get. All right, so how about this one? All right, so this one, let's start with this graph. So we start at 5, and then the slope is 3. Okay, so we start at 5, and then we're gonna go up 3. Again, careful with your slope. Remember your slope. Remember that if it's a whole number like this, that we can put it over 1. So both of these slopes are 3/1 and then negative 3/1. So remember, if it's positive, we're going to go up and then right 1. And then here we're going to go down and then right 1. Okay, so remember the difference. Positive, we go up first, then right. Negative, we go down first, then right, right? Okay, so let's clear that out. All right, so now here, so the first line, start at 5. We go up 3, right 1. And it's dashed. Oops, dashed. Okay, then we're going to go to the second line. And we have to go all the way down to 7 as our starting point, down there. And now it says negative 3, so we go down 1, 2, 3, then right 1. Okay, and this one's also dashed because of the negative, or sorry, not the negative. The negative doesn't make it dashed. Okay, just the symbol, the sign makes a dash. All right, now the shade. All right, so the shade, let's actually use my little marker here. Let's use the same colors that are on there. All right, so let's shade the, actually I gotta zoom out so you all can see here. Okay, there we go. Get that out of there. Okay, so let's start with the orange colored one. All right, so the orange color one, it says y is greater. Now, you guys notice it's leaning to the right. That orange line is leaning to the right. So that means that above the line is over here. Why did it say I signed out? That's weird. Get this out of here. Okay, so I would shade it here and here, right? All right, so now for the other line, it says y is, it also says y is greater. So that means I would shot, if it's leaning this way, that means that I would, above the line is to the right side over here. So both here and here. All right, now I know it looks kind of messy. Let's go ahead and label the different slices now. Here's slice 1, here's slice 2, here's slice 3, and down here, slice 4. All right, now slice 4 is the obvious one. Can't be that one, right? Because that one's like, that has no shade down there. Slice 1, nope, because it's only orange over there. Slice 3, nope, because it's only green. So that means that slice 2, that region right there, that's where we shade. Okay, so then I just turn on my shade button and boom, right there. Okay, and you can see they're both greater than, right? So both of that's above both lines. Okay, let's do one more. I think one more example would be good. All right, just to finish things out. So let's first graph them. All right, so, and this kind of gives you a little bit of everything here. So we start at 6, and the slope here is uno, it's 1. Okay, wahid. All right, turn that off. All right, and then we need another point. So we go up 1, right 1. And it's dashed, because remember that it's not equal to, so it's dashed. Okay, then we go to the next line, click on that button, start at 1, and it's -5 this time, so down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then right 1. And this one is now equal to, it's less than or equal, so it's solid. So let's go to the shade now. All right, so I'm gonna bring out my little tools to shade like before. Now the first one here, y is greater. Oops, y is greater. Y is greater, this line is leaning this way. So that means that the shade is over here and here. And then for the second line, it says y is less. Okay, now the steeper the lines get to being almost vertical, the harder it is to see, right? Well, this one is leaning to the left here, like that. And less than or under the line would be right here and right here. And then you guys can see that the place that I shaded for both is right there. So that's where I want to put my shade at. So I click, wait, let me get the shade button there going. There we go. Okay. So let's see how many points you get and see, you have to get 70, right? So let's see what they look like when you get closer to 70. I'm going to kind of jump ahead here. So now you got a line with a fraction, which I mean, that's not bad. You just go down 1, right 8, but that's kind of the same kind of line. All right, now let's look at this one. That's not bad either. How about up here? So let's see what they look like when you get to 90. Oh, all right. So if you guys are doing one like that, basically what you're required to do is put this in, I'll show you guys this real quick and then we'll call it. You're basically going to need to change the equation, okay? And I know some of you guys, again, on here like to go a little further. So I'm just going to show you one example of how to change the equation, okay? So let's go over here and switch the camera here. Let's go down to my whiteboard on my desk. And I'm going to start with the first inequality. So I got negative 2x plus 9y is, and greater than negative 45. All right, so now what I have to do is I got to get that y by itself. So first I add 2x. That goes away. You always treat this like an equation, by the way. And now I can't add these two, right? Because those are not like terms. One has x and one doesn't. So then I write 2x minus 45. Okay, then the last step here is I got to get rid of that 9. So just like if I had 2x equals 4, you would divide by 2, right? So same idea here. I divide by 9. But on the right side, I don't just divide one of them by 9. I divide both of these numbers by 9. Okay, that goes away. Now I just have y greater than or equal. And then I have 2 over 9. I can't divide that, so I have 2 over 9x. And then 45 divided by 9 is 5. So there's my new inequality. All right. Now, if I was to do this other one, just writing it down real quick, I would do the same thing. And here I'd, bring that 4 over there. That would become negative, and then divide by 3. So then what I end up having is negative 4, over 3x after doing all that math, then divide this by 3, and I get negative 6. Okay, so basically that's what you have to do for those if you want to keep going. Again, you don't have to, right? Because you guys have to get to 70. All right, but that's how you work out those. And I think it'll actually show you an example on here, maybe, no? Okay, it doesn't show you example. So if you want to know how to do that one, come back and look at this video for your notes, and if you want to keep going, because I know there's a few of you guys that like to. Okay, that's it. Finish up all your work. Remember, everything is due next week. Hope you guys are all hanging in there and keep working hard. I know you guys are putting in a lot of work, and we're almost there to the finish here, or at least for quarter 3. And then we got our big break coming up. So I'll see you guys next Monday. So remember, next Monday, I got it right here and posted in case you forget. Monday.
Some Monday, okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.